We're not dealing with a huge stack of JBLs here, and I know you're pushing them little speakers. They're going to blow out of the ceiling soon. All right, I tell you what. We're going to dabble in a little exercise I call thinking outside of the cage. I heard somebody say box. See, a box usually is made out of cardboard, and you can bust out of a box pretty easily. But a cage is different altogether. A cage is something that is prepared for you, sort of like a hotel room, or shall I say, a jail cell. All right, I'm going to turn this one off here. Okay, concentration camp. There you go. All right. All right. Right off the bat, why are we here? We are here because we want to get the truth out about what happened on September 11th. Now, the big question is, if the official story is a lie, then what really happened? Can we agree? Okay, if the official story is a lie, then what really happened? There are lots of 9/11 truthers out there and people out there investigating Oklahoma City and child molestation and everything, and they all say, let me tell you what really is happening about such and such. Let me tell you what really happened with Waco, what really happened with Oklahoma City, what's really happening with the Gulf War vets, what's really happening about 9/11. But you can't get people to listen to you. You can't. No, you can't, because the reason is, again, I repeat, if the official story is a lie, then what really happened? See, the problem here is that you're trying to tell the people what really happened. That's then. You didn't get through the if part. The question is if the official story is a lie. So the question is, if people already know in their minds what the official story is, they're not going to ask you that question, what really happened? You have to get them to ask the question. So how do you do that? How do you get that door to open up? Because you can bash the door in and tell them until you're blue in the face what really happened, but unless they are open-minded to be asking the question, what happened, they're not going to listen to you. So how do you do that? How do you break down the years of propaganda or propaganda and brainwashing and conditioning that we've all been subjected to for our wonderful news agencies like CBS and NBC and CNN and the Faux News Network and Shill O'Reilly and Lush Bimbo and Sean Insanity and all the other talking heads that have been basically doing it to us, intellectually raping and sodomizing us and our children for generations. So how do we get through that? I'll tell you how. And this is important. We have to get the people to ask the question because you can't give them the answer otherwise. So how do you do that? So you go to Joe Schmo, who's been sitting on his couch for the past couple decades, got a beer in one hand and a remote control in the other. You know, we got people in our family, we got friends like that. And you ask them the question, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust the media to tell you the truth? What would you say? Everybody, if you shout out a number, scale of 1 to 10. 0, okay, well you know better, all right? -2, all right. Most people would say, oh, 3, 4, okay, media, okay, fine, okay, so you give them a 3 or 4, okay. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you trust the government to tell you the truth?
1.
Whoa, I tell you what, let me share with you what the USA Today had to say, okay? Let's take a look at this. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. USA Today asked the question, whom do you trust? All right? Right down here, newspapers, TV news, okay? 24% trust the TV news. Now, let's think outside of the cage. Turn it around. What does that mean? If 24% trust them, that means 76% don't. Ooh. Now look at the very bottom of the list right down here. Federal government, 6%. If only 6% of the American people polled trust the government, that means 94% don't. So now, they're starting to realize, well, that's a lot of people, that's why I don't trust the government either. Not a dime's difference between one and the other. How many say, devil you know versus the devil you don't know? Okay, fine. Now the next question you ask Joe Sheeple, say, where do we as Americans get all of our official information? Well, from the media and from the government.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. So we all are on equal footing now. We realize that the government and the media both lie to you, and yet we form our opinions based upon those lies. Doesn't that mean that our opinions are extensions of the lie? Well, yeah. Okay, well, what does that mean when it comes to the official story about fill in the blank, about 9/11? Well, yeah, but then if the official story is a lie, then what really happened? Bingo, you got them. Now they just opened up the door and their mind is open. And now you can say, hey, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? And this is how you do it. Because we have to convince everybody that the media and the government has lied to them about every freaking thing for almost their entire lives. 9/11, TWA Flight 800, Oklahoma City bombing, Gulf War vets, Gulf War I, Gulf War II, Gulf of Tonkin, Vietnam, Waco. I mean, shall we fill in the blanks? There you go, the USS Liberty. All right? So, when it comes to all of us here asking questions about September 11th, okay, the gentleman that was here, Bill, what's his name? Mike Bates from WEBY. Okay, he had the guts to show up, and I commend him. Brought his 2 kids here. I only wish that they were here now. I wish that there were some other media people here, some officials here. Okay? However, I feel confident in my assumption that somewhere in this room there's someone paid to be here. That's okay. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. The reason I wanted to say that is because as people become educated, when people start to realize that it's not just their lives on the line, but it's your unborn grandchildren, you start to pay attention. All right? Now, I wanted to bring that up because we're all being labeled as conspiracy theorists. Now, how many saw 9/11 in plain sight? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. How many have seen 9/11 ripple effect? Okay. Okay, you know, have a tendency for laying this stuff out, but for the benefit for those that did not see it, I think it's only fair, and this is another argument you may want to make when somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist. You say, fine, if you're going to call me a conspiracy theorist, let's define a conspiracy theory. 2 words. Conspiracy is, by definition, when 2 or more people plan to do something in secret. There's no doubt on that. The next word is theory, and that's the important word in the phrase conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theory, the word theory, describes the conspiracy. So let's define theory. Theory, by definition, is a supposition, a concept, an idea. Example, in theory, if you purchase a raffle ticket, you can win a prize. Now, as long as you don't buy the raffle ticket, the win remains theoretical. But when you buy one raffle ticket, it becomes a possibility, remote as it may be. But it's a possibility. And the more raffle tickets you buy, the more possible and eventually probable the win becomes. I mean, after all, if there's only 500 tickets available, you buy 499, you're pretty much going to win, aren't you? Well, this is the way it is with a conspiracy theory. When there is no evidence to support the contention or charge of a conspiracy, then by definition you have a conspiracy theory. But once you have one piece of evidence, no matter how flimsy or circumstantial it may be, your idea, your supposition, your concept is no longer a theory. It becomes a possibility. And the more evidence that you gather and amass, the more possible and eventually probable the conspiracy is. So when you apply that definition of conspiracy theory to all the stuff we're talking about, we find out we're not dealing with theories, we're dealing with possibilities. If you're going to apply the term conspiracy theory to anything, let's take a look at the official story. The official story being that 19 hijackers armed with plastic knives or box cutters somehow overcame the crew and pilots of not 1 but 4 airplanes, then flew them with laser-guided precision into 3 out of 4 targets, all the while taking orders from a man in a laptop in Afghanistan in a cave dragging a dialysis machine.